Howdy folks, Jamboriki here. Today I'm going to be fulfilling a Patron requested review of Camp Camp's first season. Camp Camp is a web series from Rooster Teeth that follows campers Max, Nikki, Neil and others as they spend time at the dodgy kids camp Camp Campbell, owned by the eccentric adventurer Mr. Campbell, plus run by counselors David and Gwen. When I first saw pictures of this show, I was certain that I was in for a wholesome children's cartoon about cute camping adventures. But then the characters opened their mouths.
Well, it's definitely not because the bus only comes in from the city to drop off and pick up campers, and so far seems to be my only reasonable method of escaping this fucking nightmare of a camp. Definitely not that.
Hey. Language.
That is when I realised that I was in for something a lot more kid for adults. Can you blame me though? The art style could mislead anyone to mistaking it for a bubbly Saturday morning kids show. In a way, it works. It's almost a transgressive spoof of children's camping media, breaking down every cliche and trope to create its own weird, warped version of those classic summer camp episodes of kids' cartoons, making for what I can only describe as pure unfiltered chaos.
Good morning, Gwen!
Motherfucker! Crank it to high, I can take the cheese!
Nerf, you don't crank shit! Get down from there, space kid!
Oh dear!
Every camper has their own niche interest, and the counselors have to cater to each child's hobby episode by episode.
What is this? You must color inside the wine. I do not approve of mixing colors.
There's no formula to Camp Camp. This means that every single episode is totally unpredictable by nature, because we never know which themed camp gets a turn next, or how the other kids will respond to said activity. Every camper is also super quirky in their own right too. Each one is adorably passionate about their field of interest, and it's their obsession for their hobby that makes them endearingly weird. Sure, the show will often find hilarious comedy from their oddball personalities.
Look and be amazed!
Harrison, that's incredible!
Is it? Or is it magic? Ta-da!
Where'd it go? Bring it back!
Oh, I don't know how. This is kinda why I'm here.
But it also earnestly celebrates their skills or talents, championing them for what makes them unique. I think that's what I love the most about this cartoon. It finds this space between darkly humorous and adorably innocent, hitting a sweet spot that stops the show from ever getting too cheesy or too mean. The show's cynicism and idealism actually balance each other out.
You sick bastard. Your getaway from the camp is to go camping?
I don't know what to tell you anymore about how cool camping can be. All I can do now is show you.
As edgy as Camp Camp gets too, it's still self-aware enough to take jabs at problematic camping traditions. Like in one episode, Neil pretends to be a girl to take part in Girl Scout activities, all while the Girl Scouts themselves judgmentally preach about gender stereotypes, only for Neil to reveal himself and completely dunk on them.
Y'all are some ignorant fucking cunts.
There's also an episode where David tries to offensively appropriate Native American culture, and Max, who is a person of colour, calls him out on said racism.
Wow, that is racist.
No matter how morbid or sarcastic Camp Camp becomes, it's still fully capable of being a sympathetic social satire. It's progressive entertainment with an edge, as weird as that sounds. Another thing I noticed too is that while a lot of the comedy is at the expense of the Camp Camp kids themselves and the suffering they face at this terrible place, when the kids team up together and find a common enemy, they become lovable underdogs. There's an episode where Camp Camp competes against their neighbour camps, who are made up of scouts who have had the privilege of learning real-life skills, totally outmatching our quirky camp campers to an embarrassing degree. We feel for the Camp Camp kids here, because half of them didn't ask to be here, and the other half only came to develop their own hobbies. So it's unfair seeing them being pit against superior camps, or while their own troop founder uses said games for his gambling addiction. So when the Camp Camp children decide to outwit their enemies by challenging them to games based on their own personal talents, their chances are flipped as we cheer on these underdog weirdos and their unique individualities.
Oxygen? No. Petrol. Wait!
Done.
Now, there's one major aspect of this show that I've tiptoed around, because I wanted to save it for last, that being the relationship between Max and David, two polar opposite characters, each representing the different sides of the show's coin. Max is a pessimist who gets a kick out of breaking people's dreams, especially David's.
I just wanted to show him that his entire philosophical outlook on life is flawed and that the fundamental beliefs and ideologies he holds so dearly are trivial, so he'll start crying himself to sleep like the rest of us. I'm not a monster!
While David is an optimist with an idealistic attitude to everything.
Suck a dick.
All I want is for you kids to have as much fun as I did when I was a Campbell camper. Is that really too much to ask?
We can understand both perspectives while also criticizing each character. Max has been abandoned at a camp by a family who doesn't want to deal with him, so of course he has every right to feel betrayed by adults. However, his misery has turned him into someone bitterly selfish and socially destructive, while David's life clearly peaked during his childhood summer camp. So he's desperate to share that same joy with another generation, but he's clearly behind the times and doesn't actually know how to connect with kids today.
Assuming I've always been bad is pretty narrow-minded of you, David. Did it ever occur to you that maybe I'm just a product of a judgmental, overprotective society?
These characters are reflections of two jarringly different ways to approach life, but the show never vouches for one over the other. Instead, it finds truth in both ways of looking at the world, that cheery idealistic optimism and an acceptance of a crushing reality can coexist together. This is best illustrated in the season finale episode, in which Max berates David's outlook with harsh truths.
God, it's like you live in this stupid make-believe world where everything's great. The universe doesn't work that way, idiot. Just look around. It's what I've been trying to show you since day one. Life sucks, and we live in a world of desensitized, apathetic assholes.
But in a stroke of surprise, David drops his happy counselor persona, finds himself agreeing with Max, but doesn't just simply surrender.
The campers don't care. Gwen doesn't care. Even the founder of this place has better things to do. That's why I'll never stop trying. Because somebody fucking has to.
And there it is, the heart of Camp to me, that no matter how cruel the world is, you can always hit back hard with a healthy dose of optimism. You can acknowledge the darkness without letting it consume you. It only took one season of Camp to make me into a fan. A coming-of-age black comedy that celebrates individuality while making us laugh our asses off at its absurd chaos. I am looking forward to watching more episodes in the future when I get free time. So what do you think of Camp's first season? Let everyone know in the comments below. If you'd like to make your own review request through my Patreon, then become a $10+ patron today. I've been Jamboree, cheerio folks.